welcome to your award-winning The Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week through news and headlines ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I'm Daniel, and today we are going through sector number 472 with co-host Macio. Welcome back, sir.
Hey, appreciate it. Brokettes was good, man.
I know you said it was a slower news week, but we got some Microsoft news that we're going to kick it off with here in a bit. So, you know, the way it's going to work out is tomorrow something's going to drop that you would have loved to talk about. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's par for the course these days. Most news doesn't come out around this time. It's usually like hits on a Monday or Friday. So Next week there'll be a shit ton of like crazy video game news. Sony will do like a random fucking stream and just announce crazy ass games.
Yep.
It is what it is.
Well, let's jump right. Actually, to any new Brokettes, maybe it's your first episode. The way we format it is we go through this week's news, and then this week we are going to go into what's new on HBO Max. We do that once a month. We also do what's new on Netflix once a month. And then we end it with the Broket Block, which is what Macio and I have been doing this week, playing, reading, watching. It's the portion of the podcast where you get to know Macio and I better. And each week we do that to get to know every host as well better on your end. So let's jump right into Sector 472. Kicking it off with Microsoft, who revealed the Halo Infinite Series X bundle that is set for release on November 15th. Are these available still, Macio?
GameStop, they did a drop yesterday, and I believe there's still one or two retailers that haven't done their Halo Infinite bundles yet. They went out on Microsoft and within an hour sold out. And they were going pretty quick. And as you can tell, if you slide on over to eBay, StockX, Craigslist, name a reselling site, you'll see them on there for about 1,000, 1,200, which is fucking hilarious. Like, if you just want a console, like you can sit there and park your ass on your computer, park your ass in front of your phone, have all the alerts set up and try to get a regular Series X, and then you can just buy Infinite. So this isn't really to scalp or resell when it comes to like, how people have been doing it with the PS5 and the Series X for the past year. It's not that type of deal. It's literally just, hey, we know this is a console. It's Halo. It's special edition. So we're going to fucking try to flip these.
Normally on retail, these go for $549. I was watching, there's a YouTuber I follow, shout out to him. He's a local, Red Bandana Gaming, and he went physically into GameStop after they had sold out on Microsoft.com. I guess they had done a live video or a stream, or they had dropped a video announcing the Halo Infinite Series X bundle. And they did an awesome job with it. I watched it. It had all of these star designs that faded into the console. They really sold you on this beautiful console. And within 3 minutes, he had gotten all the way to the checkout line. And that's when it gave him the error. It kicked him right back out to the main thing and then sold out. So within 3 minutes, he wasn't able to get one. That's why he had tried to go to GameStop and see if at open they had maybe were going to do pre-orders. They said they weren't and they didn't know when. So he was pretty upset. It seems like a lot of gamers were kind of upset at this, but I honestly wasn't surprised because it seems like the market, as you had mentioned, like scalpers and flippers, eBayers, all of that is very prevalent right now. There's bots that are amazing at just immediately buying out these items on Target.com or Best Buy. And it really didn't shock me, but it's more of a matter of how many did they actually produce and how quickly were they going to go then. So it is a beautiful console, though. Would you say it's one of the top tier best Xboxes you've ever seen?
Definitely. It's easily probably number 2, at least. At the very least, it's number 2 on Xbox consoles when it comes to the Halo editions. I want to say they've done 5 of them. I personally had the Xbox 360 Halo Reach, the all gray one with all the Oni designs on it. And that's one of my favorite consoles, just because how it fits into the lore. Like they made it so that the 360 itself was an asset, like a Halo asset, like some type of secret service. That's what Oni is. It's basically like the CIA in the Halo world. So they made it like, oh, the Xbox 360 is a some type of secret artifact that has to be held in the Oni vaults, and it came with all that type of detailing on the console, and it had its own power up, like Halo Reach sounding power up when you turn it on. It made a specific sound from the video game, and that's pretty much what they've been doing ever since then. So they had a Halo 5 Xbox One that looked pretty sweet, but it was just regular, just designs. And I like how they put the stars on it. The regular Xbox Series X, on the fan, it has like a green hue to it. When you like turn it off access, you can kind of see like the green, almost as if like there's an LED, but it's just painted green. And they changed that to be a different shade on this console, so it looks sweet. But I think people really overstate the whole bot thing and the scalper thing. Like right now, with the Series X and the PS5, it's not scalpers, guys. It's not bots. People want these consoles. People are playing these consoles. Like it's not scalpers anymore. If you try to go on eBay, StockX, any of these kinds of places to get a PS5 or an Xbox Series X just to see what it's reselling for, these consoles aren't reselling for $1,000 anymore. They're only going for about 700. You can go on Craigslist in our area and get a Series X for 650. People aren't really reselling them like that. It's not as hot as it was maybe 5 or 6 months ago. But this one was hot, basically because they know that Halo fans will overpay just to have the Halo console, not just because it's a Series X, just to have the Halo console. But it's a really cool looking console. I'm not getting it as much as a Halo fan I am. I already have a Series X. The only reason I got the Halo Reach 360, I gave my original Xbox 360 to my brother, and then I got the Reach. And at the time, I was working at GameStop, so I was just like, get the Reach console, no big deal. But I don't. I'm not really a huge collector. I'm not a collector of really anything. So to me, having a special edition console, as soon as the next console comes out, if it's backwards compatible with the Series X, I'm getting rid of my Series X. I'm not keeping this shit. Like I don't like keeping stuff that's redundant. Mm-hmm. So if the new Xbox is backwards compatible, I'm getting rid of my Series X. Just like I got rid of my Xbox One, the Series X was backwards compatible with the Xbox One. Got rid of my Xbox One. So I don't keep shit that's redundant. But to be honest, like people gotta relax, man. Like these consoles, they go quick. They go quick. I know you said somebody that you watch, like, it sold in like 3 minutes. But I mean, we were on the Discord and it was like 15, 20 minutes later, and Bobby was still able to fucking get one.
Well, when he said that, I wanted to know if maybe Bobby, if you had said, yeah, I want that console, and if he tried to check out, if maybe then, because I don't know when Bobby put it in his card, and maybe he's like, all right, put it in my card, and then waited 20 minutes or whatever. I don't know. It could have still showed that it was in there. But according to him, when he tried to check out, that's when it said sold out. So I have no idea. And I guess I also don't know how quickly he watched the video, but he claims he watched it as soon as it dropped. So who knows? Either way, it is a hard console to find. And these companies are not saying when they're dropping their consoles. As far as I've seen, they haven't said, okay, this Friday, we're going to put up the pre-orders for, because they don't need to, whenever they drop it, they'll be gone.
Selling out either way. Yeah. Selling out either way. The shit that I found hilarious, it's almost like, it's unbelievable, but it's so believable. GameStop, they didn't fucking put the console, the Halo Infinite Xbox Series X. They didn't fucking sell the console with just the fucking console. Like, the $549. You couldn't, if you went to GameStop.com and you're like, oh, they put up the pre-orders for the Halo Infinite Series X. guess what? You had to spend $700
Hell
because they
yeah.
made you get a fucking controller. They made you get fucking FIFA or like Madden or some bullshit.
That's standard with them now.
Yeah, yeah. Everything they sell when it comes to the PS5 or the Xbox Series X is always a fucking bundle, and it's so fucking lame because they're the only ones that do this shit. Best Buy doesn't do it. Walmart doesn't do it. The dreaded behemoth that Amazon is, they don't do it. Only GameStop.
They should all do it, Maceo. When it's this hot a product, you bundle it with some shit that you try to get rid of because you know you're going to move it. You know people are going to spend. People have extra money to spend apparently when they're spending $1,000 for a console. The last GameStop I worked at, the manager there, it was with the fuck. What was hot at the time? It might have been PS4s, but whenever he got a shipment in, he would custom make bundles, and I don't know if he was allowed to, but he said that GameStop. He showed GameStop the numbers and that he could upsell the attach rates that we used to have to do, where you have to sell at least more, I think 3 items on average with the console. So he would bundle it and only sell it as a bundle to people. And if they push back, then he would just sell the console. But for the most part, most people would be like, all right, well, I'll get it. And he passed it on to GameStop. And I'm assuming they saw that data as well. And I'm sure he wasn't the only manager that did that. And they're like, this will work. And good on them, I say. Like, I don't really shop there. I don't have any stock in them or anything, but as hot as this product is, I really do think that they should find that ceiling, find that cap, just like I do with Pokemon with the booster packs, charge an extra couple dollars and make that profit and sell the shit that you don't want.
Yeah, my thing is that it's good for now. Like, that's a good strategy for now, but in the long run, it's gonna rub people the wrong way. And GameStop's already like circling the fucking drain. So it's like you're doing shit like that, and it's gonna just delve you deeper into the fucking hole because you're just turning away people. Like, they're just gonna be like, "Oh, I'm gonna get my console, but I'm gonna make sure I'm not fucking coming back in here to do any other business." And also, a story that I heard about was, unlike your buddy that went inside the GameStop and fucking went and tried to pre-order, and they told him no. There were some GameStops that were taking pre-orders for the console just for them to flip back and say, hey man, like, call the person back like once they got home. Yeah, we weren't supposed to fucking take that pre-order, dude. Like, you gotta come back up here and get your fucking refund because it's online only. So like, they're doing a lot of shit over there. It's hilarious.
That's weird. I wonder what they attached it to, or if it was accidentally in the system, or I have a lot of questions on that one.
Yeah, I was wondering that too, because as far as I know, from when we worked, there had to be a SKU for us to use. Mm-hmm. Maybe they put something in just for like an internal, like, online type deal, but then that also allowed them to use the SKU to pre-order in store, and they weren't supposed to. Or maybe some stores just didn't read their emails that morning, and they're just like, oh yeah, it's in here, it's in the fucking system. Like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Last thing I want to ask about this Halo Infinite special edition, that beautiful controller that they're coming out with, that's selling separately too, isn't it?
Yes. So there was the controller that came with the system. That is not being sold separate.
Oh, okay.
What they're selling separate is a Halo Infinite Xbox Elite controller. So the Elite controller is it has like bumpers on the back. I don't know if you ever heard like the company Scuff. They modify. Yes. Yeah, they modify PlayStation and Xbox controllers so you can put bumpers on the back and you can have those extra additional buttons so you can still shoot and aim without having to take your thumbs off the sticks. So that's what the Series Elite controller is. And that Elite controller, they made it like all green. It looks kind of like Master Chief. So that one is pretty cool, but that shit is like $200. That controller, the controller itself, I want to say is like around 180, but that special edition is about $200. I also didn't get that because I don't find a need for that Elite controller. Online, there's so many people that bitch about the Elite controller, saying that it's not made well. It breaks down faster than just the regular standard controller. So I wasn't really going for it, but I am hyped for the game. Now the question is, do I still purchase Halo Infinite when I have Xbox Game Pass and it comes through Game Pass?
Well,
So
how long
that's
is it going to take for it to hit Game Pass?
it instant. All Microsoft first party titles go straight to Game Pass
Oh, I don't
on
see
day
the point
one.
then.
Yeah, yeah. It's like one of those things where it's like, do I still get it anyway? Because I have all the Halos hard copies.
But you're not a
So it's
collector.
like,
That's redundant,
yeah,
Maceo. That's
yeah,
redundant.
yeah. Yeah, and I'm not a collector, but when it comes to Halo and the games itself, I do have the games that I don't have digitally. So I have Halo 5 digital, but I don't have like Halo 2 digital. But then I have it on the Master Chief Collection, but I have the Master Chief Collection physical. So it's kind of weird. Like I have so many different versions of different Halos that I held onto or got rid of over the years because I got some type of bundle or I got it digital. Yeah, so I'm still thinking like,
You're
should
going to
I
buy
buy it?
it. You're
Yeah,
going to get it.
I'll probably buy it down the road. Maybe not on day one since I
There you go.
have Game Pass, but I'll get it eventually, more likely.
That works. And we have some No More Heroes 3 news. This is a game that they've been waiting for a long time. And with the release of this, game director Suda51 took to Twitter to announce that this game will be the final one in the No More Heroes franchise. No big surprise there. He said, quote, "As one journey ends, the Crimson Bike falls into a deep sleep. Goodbye, Travis. Goodbye, No More Heroes." End quote. He also said during a live stream event with IGN Japan, quote, "The broad answer is we already have a lot of products that are in development, and over the next 10 years, we have 3 original IPs that we're working on." End quote. This is not a game that I don't think released on every single console as far as No More Heroes 3. Maybe it did, but it's not really a huge IP for them. I think that the No More Heroes gamers that are going to be playing this have played 1 and 2 before. I doubt they'll get a lot of new eyes on it, people that are just jumping on board. So I didn't even expect a No More Heroes 3, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's a like, it has huge fan favor online that doesn't translate into sales like that. So I wasn't surprised where he said, "Oh, this is going to be the last one," because like it doesn't really bang on the sales end. And I want to say No More Heroes 1 and 2, I think only came out on the Wii and maybe the Switch and PS3. But other than that, I'm pretty sure those are the only platforms that No More Heroes came out on. I remember when that shit came out on the Wii, a lot of people always talked about it. But again, it's not like fucking Mario or something. It's not selling gangbusters. How many games did they want in the series? Like 3 is a very, very good number. I'm not really a big fan of Suda51 games. His games are always like kind of janky, to be honest with you.
Jesus.
Like, yeah, like besides No More Heroes, like who's fucking playing like Lollipop Chainsaw? Like I remember I got that game. I borrowed it when I was working at like GameStop. That shit was fucking awful. It's just a lot of his games is just super janky. And
I
then
think the cosplayers were more popular than the game itself.
yeah, exactly. That Killer is Dead. Another one that was just super janky. I don't know. It's like the gameplay is always pretty clunky, but for whatever reason, in No More Heroes, using that Wiimote and shit like that, it was actually pretty smooth.
Yeah, it's essentially Johnny Knoxville with a lightsaber. Ever since he said in I think it was a Nintendo Power interview that they were inspired by Johnny Knoxville for the look of the main character. That's all I see. It's just Jackass the game. I can't get that out of my head now.
Yeah, it's just missing all the homoerotic shit. Just dude stripping down to nothing, ripping off fucking sweatpants and just having a banana hammock.
Right. One of my all-time favorite games is Dead Space, and that's because it plays exactly like my favorite game of all time, Resident Evil 4, a more futuristic space version, but the gameplay is solid. It's great. And there was an EA reveal where they did announce that Gunnar Wright is going to return to voice Isaac in the remake. and they will actually give him dialogue, which is very different than that first game. He didn't speak to anyone. He had grunts, yells, and this is that same voice actor that did all of that work. But then in Dead Space 2 and 3, that's when they gave him more of a story. They fleshed out his relationship with Nicole and had him give him a personality, basically, which at the time Kelly and I were kind of back and forth on, because in the first one it feels like you are the player, you kind of make up who Isaac is. And then when they give you lines in 2 and 3, and then it's like, okay, well, this is how he truly is. And it was fine. It grew on us and we got used to it. But do you think it's at all a little bit, maybe for the purists, if you're calling it a remake, that they're giving him dialogue, even though they're saying here that it's going to be very situational, that it's not going to be like a full on reworking of all of his lines? But where do you see this as a remake as a gamer?
They need to keep it like the original. The
Mhm.
purpose of it was so that you feel like you're into the character, like you are Isaac, not, oh, I'm playing as Isaac. So that's number one. Number two, we have enough games where the fucking main character is talking to themselves over and over and over. Like, that shit is so played out. I don't need to know what the fucking character is thinking. I want to think what the character is. So I don't need Isaac to be like, holy shit, how did I survive?
Right.
Like, after you get out of a room, or Isaac to be like, holy shit, I gotta get out of here fast. I'm
Right.
running out of oxygen. Like, I hate that shit in games, man. Like, just keep it to a minimum. Keep it on the grunts, the fucks, like just how the first game was. But even then, like, I just don't like it. Like, because by them saying, "Oh, Gunnar Wright is coming back to voice Isaac," that already makes you feel like, wait, did he voice Isaac in the fucking first one? Like, Isaac barely fucking spoke. So it's I don't know, man. A lot of the stuff, like what they showed so far, I don't know if you got a chance to look at the pre-production gameplay. It looks like fucking like Dead Space. It doesn't seem like they're changing much. It just looks very, very, graphically updated. But it doesn't look like they're changing much in that regard. But I don't know. I can't trust EA. Like, you gotta kind of just have to watch it. And this shit isn't coming out for like what, another 2 years, maybe like 2023.
That's always where I get confused when they label something a remake or a remaster, or sometimes a remake, they mean, it seems like it goes by studio to studio. Like, to them, a remake could be just a remaster of an existing game using the same engine, all the assets. And then to another person, it might be a ground up remake. And this is always why it's never consistent when they talk about these things until you really nail them down in an interview and say, hey, so is this a ground up remake or redo of the game, or is this an HD edition of the original? And that's always where I get kind of tripped up on it.
I think the wording was, at first they said a reboot. Like, the rumor was it was a remake, then it became a reboot. And then when they said reboot, people were like, whoa, you guys are going to make it fucking like action, like Resident Evil 6, when they changed that shit to like balls to the wall action instead of it being like a survival horror. And then they came out and said, no, we're staying faithful to the original. And it's like, what the fuck are y'all making? Is it going to be like 1-to-1 Dead Space original from like fucking 2007 compared to like whatever we get now, where it's the same levels, the same monsters, the same boss fights? Or are you guys like gonna revamp the controls, revamp the fucking engine, new music, new sound? I mean, you got Gunnar Wright in here, so he's clearly redoing voice acting. It's not like you guys are just adding something. You're putting brand new lines into the game. Is it going to follow the same storyline? So I don't like the wording.
Yeah.
Like the wording, because you hear a reboot, then you hear a remake, but then they say it's not a They seem like they're confused. Like, they don't know.
Right. Yeah, like they're making it up as they go. Talking about Dead Space in general, though, is that it sounded like you've played the game, talking about the oxygen levels and all that. Have you gone through the whole first game or any of the sequels before? And where does that sit in your favorite horror games of all time?
I've played one, and I would say it's probably top 5. Yeah, I would definitely put it in my top five. Probably Silent Hill 1 would be number one. I'm a huge fan of Condemned on the Xbox 360. I don't know if you ever got to play that.
No, but
Um,
I know what you're talking about.
yeah, and that was really good. So I'll probably put Dead Space maybe like three or four. Very, very good. Very atmospheric. I fucking jumped multiple times playing this shit. Crazy game. Great ending. Just everything about it just wraps up really nicely. And if it would have ended at just Dead Space 1 and we didn't get any more after that, I would have been fine. But I also say that because I never played 2 or 3.
Yeah,
Because it was one of those games where it was like when I got to the end, I was like, whoo, like just a sigh of relief because goddamn, like
yeah.
that shit has your heart beating.
And when he takes off his helmet, and like, I don't want to give spoiler alert, whatever. This game is old as fuck. We're past
Yeah.
that. When he takes off his helmet and it's this crusty old man, like that was amazing. I say crusty old man. I probably look like him now more than I looked back then, but like I'm closer to his look. But it's like to me, I'm like, this is an ancient looking guy that was just this destroying all of these necromorphs, and he's trying to get to Nicole, and he's an action hero. And then it's almost like back in the first Metroid where you take off the helmet and it's like it's a woman, it's like a pretty big surprise still to see this older guy. And when you play Dead Space 2 and they aged him down, which is we thought was funny.
Yeah. Like it was certain shit like things like that. It makes you wonder because like, and that's why I like the first one because it's like you're playing as an old man. He's a fucking mechanic. He's not some fucking killer guy. Like he just finds a fucking way to get to it. To get to the end of the game. So that's why I like that first one. You get to the second one and they fucking aged them down. Like, what are they do? I feel like that's just EA. Like EA being like, hey man, we gotta make this action. Nobody's gonna believe this old dude, even though half the people probably didn't even play the first one.
Yeah.
Because again, Dead Space is like one of those games where it has like that huge fanfare, but maybe just number 3. The first 2 I'm pretty sure sold very well. I think number 3 is where it tailed off and not too many people bought. And that's why the series died where it went. Plus, EA doesn't make fucking single player games like that anymore. And they just like trying to circle back now to making single player games. So it's baffling to say the least. But I do wish the best, and I'm hoping that it comes out well so I can fucking play it again.
There you go. Yeah, you'll have to let me know how it is. I'm gonna watch some Let's Plays and see how it stacks up to my older memories of playing this game over and over again. And we do have some movie and television news this week as well. Netflix's Cowboy Bebop adaptation is getting a tie-in comic book from Titan Comics. It's scheduled to release in December as a 4-issue miniseries, and it is going to kick off with a cover by the great Stanley Lau, aka Artgerm. And this will be Cowboy Bebop's debut in comic books. It was previously published as a manga, which is now out of print. I don't know why. That should be a manga that they should print from now until the end of time. It's something that you can forever sell. It's considered one of the best anime of all time. So obviously the manga should do well, but I don't know. I don't know how that stuff works. But it is kind of interesting that they're doing the tie-in to go with the show. And are you at all a Cowboy Bebop guy?
Honestly, I've watched a couple of episodes of Cowboy Bebop, and it just never hooked me. But the odd thing I find about this is that it's tying into the Netflix show or the Netflix adaptation. So what is the Netflix adaptation not following the fucking anime and manga? Like that's kind of weird.
There's a lot of questions about that because some people there's no winning with this thing because I've heard from both sides. Like some people want it to be a faithful recreation in live action of the show or the manga. And then some people don't want it to be that. They want it to be its own thing. Yet some don't want it to be a reboot either. So it's kind of, I think if I were Netflix, the best thing to do would be to try to tell your own story. Don't keep it too tied into the anime or the manga as far as story beats. That way, in case it ends up being this amazing season and people love it and they plan on making more out of them, you can kind of leave that door open. But if anyone has seen that one season of the anime, you know that it has a finite ending to it, which they can always get to at any point after 8 seasons if they wanted to. I don't know what their plan is, but that's the problem. We don't really know how they're going to handle this adaptation of it.
Honestly, I'm very interested in watching this Cowboy Bebop on Netflix, even though I really didn't watch the anime as much, just so I can be the guy that's like, oh man, I'm a huge fan of Cowboy Bebop. Just on Netflix, though. I don't care about that anime shit. The show bangs just for the person to be like, well, actually, Faye is blah 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 blah. I was like, nobody cares about that. You're watching it on Netflix. Dude.
Did you see all the shit that she was taking over the costume comments on Instagram?
Yeah, like I was very baffled. I was so confused because people were saying like, oh, she doesn't have sex appeal, or some people were saying like, oh, they should have got a fucking actress with big tits. It was like they're not fucking hiring actresses just for their titties, man. Like like that shit maybe like, like 30 years ago, like we were doing that shit in like the 90s, the 80s and 90s and shit, where you could just get a job by looking good. But like if they want people that can fucking act. So if the chick with the flatter chest can act well and fit the part, she's getting the fucking job. And they're not gonna have her ass. They're not gonna have her ass stuffing her fucking shirt, and they're not gonna have her with her titties out. Like Netflix is all on the Me Too shit. They're all on the social bandwagon of, hey, we're looking out for the black creators, the Hispanic creators, Latino creators. Like they're doing all that shit. They always, if you go on Netflix, you can pop it up and it'll be like Asian American characters, like right in your face. So like they're not gonna fucking have a woman out here looking crazy. I'm sure on the show they'll have some scenes where she's doing some sexy shit because that's just her character in the show. But you never know. She might have just had them fucking flip it around and change it. Maybe they wrote it differently. Honestly, man, like who gives a fuck? Is the show good? Like let the show be good first. Let's find out if the show's good first before we start rallying on basic shit like costumes. Like it looked fine. It doesn't look like the anime, but it looked good. I've seen it. Everything looked fine to me. I wasn't tripping.
Well, I want to talk about that a little bit because on Discord, I think we got some of our hosts that had their opinions on it. And one of the things that Scott had said, and I know he's very against Netflix and anything they do, so I kind of knew what he was going to say. But when I posted it on his Discord, he was like, it just looks like cosplay. And I didn't say anything, but I'm kind of like, if it looks accurate, then it looks like cosplay, and that's a bad thing. But then if it didn't look accurate, then it doesn't look like. I just don't understand what that meant. So I don't know. I kind of let that one go. But
cosplays look fucking great now.
Yeah.
Like they look like fucking movie shit most of the time. Like the people that really like work on that shit, it looks just like it would on a movie. Like I've definitely walked the halls of like MegaCon and seen people that look like they could be on a movie set. Like the problem with a lot of costumes that we see and we say like, oh man, that shit looks like cosplay. It's like we're seeing it without like all the CGI and shit. Like it's gonna look better on the show versus like the stills. But we've seen people say that about the Nightmare Batman. People said that shit looked like cosplay, and when I watched it on the screen, it looked fucking amazing. People said that about
fucking Supergirl.
yeah,
that's the Flash.
Yeah. Some of those CW ones, they look like bad cosplay.
Yeah.
Like they look pretty bad. But when it comes to the movies, pretty much every single costume I've seen in the movies or on a high budget show has looked very good. Like even Marvel shit. Like I'm not a fan of Marvel's the storylines in the movies, but the fucking costumes look great. Like I ain't going front. Like that shit look great. But them CW shows look like ass.
Yeah, they do.
Like them shits look like they need to hire some cosplay.
Yeah.
Throw them in the studio or throw some. Well, I was gonna say throw some CGI, but they don't have the budget for it. No. CGI looks terrible in the shows too.
More than likely, what Scott, and I'm assuming now that you kind of explain it out, when people say, and this is probably what he meant too, that it looks like cosplay, they mean like cheap cosplay, like the stuff that when 10 years ago when we went to conventions, as you mentioned, cosplays today are high quality. You can get a 3D printed thing for a lot cheaper now than you could have 5 years ago and get a decent costume. So you're right. That's probably what he meant, that, it looked lower quality or fan made, which I understand now what he meant by that. So I do disagree with that, but I can definitely respect that opinion. The other thing too was when the actress that is playing Faye, she took to Instagram to make those comments. Spoon was saying that he was excited for the show, and then after he saw how she handled that situation, he's like, I really don't want to see it now. And this is one of those things where I think I've never heard of her, so I think she's up and coming as far as her role in. And I think the only lead I've heard of is the guy that's playing Spike, I think.
Yeah.
But as far as what she was saying, she took these comments that people were body shaming her with, and I get that. That's frustrating. You know, if people are constantly sending you things about the way you look and how you should look different, that's going to frustrate you. So she took to Instagram and she made this video, and I think that might have been a mistake. Instead of just leaving it, you know, not putting out a comment, because you're not going to change any minds, and instead it ended up getting people frustrated. She took this approach of, well, you see, they were trying to time travel me so that my parents had the genetics so that I would have a bigger bust size, but that didn't work. So she went the really sarcastic route about it and kept going for, I think, 2 or 3 minutes, and people were like, it's really cringy, shouldn't have said anything. And that, I think that was the major issue. Probably a lesson learned there of just don't say anything, keep your mouth shut, and just let the performance in the show speak for itself.
What people don't understand, whether it's normal people, whether it's celebrities, you never say shit unless it's actually something that can hurt your reputation. People saying, oh, the character Faye has big titties and sexy and you're not that, they're not really saying anything bad about you per se. They're more upset with the casting. So you don't need to say anything. Like now when people say that, hey, you did a fucking To Catch a Predator fucking party and had actual pedophiles attending that party that end up getting locked up for being pedophiles, you probably should have some type of PR that says something that says, hey, I'm not a pedophile, don't look at me. That's just a really bad coincidence that happened 2 times. But when it comes to me, I'm A1. I don't have any child porn on my fucking computer. Don't look at me, please. Like when you got those type of situations, you get your PR, you say something. If you're in the situation where people not really even mad at you, just shut the fuck up. And the fucking beautiful words of Herm Edwards, former coach, a former NFL coach, he said, I'm going to make a phone where if you type something out, you can't hit send. Just don't hit send. You do something, and then right before you're about to hit send, you like think about that shit. And you're like, damn, I got it all out. Like I said what I wanted to say without anybody seeing it, and then you just delete the fucking message and you go on about your day. Because that's really all you want to do. You just want to vent. Talk to somebody in your life. Talk to your mom, your brother, your friends. Joke about it on a group chat, on a Discord or something, and keep it to yourself. You don't have to tell everybody, because when people see that you're reacting, it looks weak, and then they dogpile it even more.
Yep, exactly right.
There's no point to doing it. I don't think people are not gonna not watch it. The amount of people that's gonna take that side and say, "Oh, you said something about it, I'm not watching now," is low. Most of the time, the people that are dogpiling like that, they probably have zero interest. They just joining in on the mob. Like, oh, I wasn't gonna watch this shit anyway, but fuck it, let's shit on it. Let's talk shit. Just shut up. Don't say nothing. Just stay low. Keep firing. Stay low. Keep firing. And once it comes out, people are either gonna say it's dope or they're not. But it's not gonna be because you said some dumb shit on Instagram. Especially when it's that cringy. That shit was fucking cringy as
yeah.
Fuck. Holy shit. That was like some straight up like 16-year-old TikTok type of shit. Like,
right.
Terrible.
Yeah, and I do think it's going to be a lesson learned, and that's all right. It'll just be a learning experience for them, and as they continue on in their career, I'm assuming, and we'll see. Maybe it won't be, but I do hope the show is good, and I'm looking forward to it. And if not, I'll always have the anime. No reason to be mad at the show.
Yeah, just fire up the anime. If that shit's trash, fire up the anime. Maybe they might, see the huge interest in it and not make another season, because that shit is nasty.
Right. We have some news about theater owners as they met up with Warner Brothers last Tuesday night. Warner Brothers presented at CinemaCon, and it had exclusive first looks at The Matrix 4, Dune, and The Batman. And while theater owners continue to be frustrated at WB for the continued day-and-date release with HBO Max, Warner Brothers promised that these blockbusters will be exclusive to theaters. So that's something that they had said in the past. It's only till 2021. And at the time, I'm like, they're going to see how these things do, and then if needed, they'll extend it to 2022. They're doing the smart thing here. So in this case, they have since said in 2022, as of now, they're going to be exclusive to theaters. They signed these agreements, 45-day exclusive agreements. One of the biggest ones was AMC Theaters, where they won't bring this up on HBO Max or any digital services for at least 45 days. They got that month and a half window. So theater owners still not exactly happy with them. They made their voices heard. There's rumors of other movies this year, like Spider-Man and Venom 2. There's rumblings that they may get pushed back to 2022, which is going to be another big hit for theaters, especially right before the holidays, when a lot of people do go to the movies. And I think this year will be one of those years where they're going everywhere else. They're going shopping. I think they'll be at theaters too this holiday season. Theaters are removing the restrictions on seating, so you can sit right next to a complete stranger now if you want. So I don't know. It's going to be a big hit if they end up moving those back, but I just thought it was interesting that at CinemaCon, these theater owners, they more or less just showed up unhappy to make their voices heard. And, you got to do that. You got to let them know what your concerns are.
Listen, man, those movies are getting fucking pushed back, dude. Like, if last year is any type of example of how the Rona works, like, that shit is gonna jump. And once it hits the winter time, especially up north where people have to go inside and they can't be outside to do shit. Like down here, we might be all right because, it's still hot. It's like still 80 degrees in December. But once it hits like November, probably by like 2 weeks from now, it's going to start dropping to like 50 degrees up north. Man, they're not fucking going in the theaters, bro. Like, in some of those states where they have like high vaccination and shit, like they'll probably be okay. But they're pushing these shits back, man. The shit is getting pushed back. It's unfortunate. It sucks for the theaters. I feel like Dune's supposed to have come out like 3 years ago at this point. I'm so like, I know people that's hyped for it and they're like, man, I can't wait for it to come out. I can't wait for it to come out. Like me at this point, I don't even give a fuck. Like it was like that. Fucking Fast and Furious 007. I saw they put out like a new trailer and it's like, man, I feel like fucking that shit was supposed to come out in 2019. I feel like that Fast and Furious movie was supposed to come out in 2019. Like, it's just so fucking, I'm done, man. We way past that. I'm definitely still kind of looking forward to the Batman. But that wasn't even supposed to come out until 2022. So, right? Like, it wasn't even supposed to come out this year.
Yeah, that one is still on schedule for 2022. I know it did have some filming delays due to Pattinson catching COVID. And supposedly there were some filming things with him where he wasn't behaving right on set. And I don't know. Those are rumors, but there's some stuff about how he didn't want to bulk up for the role. And that was a problem between him and Matt Reeves. And I guess we'll find out if Matt Reeves, signs up for a sequel or if he's like, I don't want to work with this guy anymore. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but I'm most looking forward to Dune and I cannot wait. The director, Denis Villeneuve, did Arrival. He did Blade Runner 2029, both excellent movies. And I'm sure Dune will be another hit for him. I just hope Warner Brothers doesn't restrict it to the 2-hour mark. I hope it comes out on IMAX and I hope it's good. I just hope that they don't fuck it up like they've been screwing up everything else.
How do we not know like the fucking runtime? Like the movie's done. What are they still doing to like? Are they still fucking with the movie at this point? Like the movie has been done for years.
I'll have to look it up and see if we know the runtime for sure. But if it is like around the 2-hour mark, we'd have to all ask, or the people that are interested, did they make you cut it down? Was it originally 3 movies? Dune seems like an epic that could be 3 hours easily. So I don't know. And same with Matrix 4. That's another movie that the Matrix ones have been on the longer side, 2.5 hours from what I remember. And this is kind of a soft reboot of the franchise. You're bringing back Keanu, but you're kind of revisiting this franchise after so many years. So if I had to guess, they're setting it so that there are 3 more movies, another trilogy after this one. So
they chopping that shit down. 2 hours 15 max.
Jesus, I hope not.
You know,
It's fucking assholes.
On, man. You know they cutting that shit the fuck down, man. Like,
yeah.
If they can chop it down to like Mortal Kombat size, it's happening.
They did it to Mortal Kombat. They did it for Godzilla vs. Kong. They're just all of them. Warner Butchers is what they're calling them. A franchise that's coming back as well is the Expendables. I think it was Bobby that dropped this on Discord.
Yes, sir.
It's moving forward with a 4th film as confirmed by The Hollywood Reporter. Sylvester Stallone, Jason Statham, Dolph Lundgren, and Randy Couture are all returning to reprise their roles from the previous films, and it's set to begin the production October of this year, so next month.
Yeah, I'm definitely hyped. I love me the Expendables, man. I watch all 3 of them in theaters. Just a good fucking time. Just a good time seeing all your old 80s action stars. Nowadays, I could care less about seeing Sylvester Stallone, to be honest with you. I wish I could get my money back for that last Rambo. Holy shit. That was fucking terrible. He didn't kill anybody till like the last like 30 minutes of the fucking movie. There was like almost no action until the last fucking 30 minutes of the movie with the terrible ass dialogue. Stallone can barely speak. Like before it was bad. Like now it's like you need subtitles to find out what the fuck this is saying half the time. It's terrible now. He can't write dialogue. I don't know why they let him write anything for any fucking movie. I don't think he's writing this shit, so that's perfectly fine. But keep him with the least amount of speaking as possible. Like if you could cut him down to like just like Dom Toretto type family, like he just says like one word and grunts, that'd be perfectly fine. We need more Jason Statham. We need more Dolph Lundgren, Randy Couture fucking wrestling the fuck out of people. I guess we're not getting the things that I would want is like Arnold Schwarzenegger to come back because he was dope.
Yeah.
And number 3, I don't think he's coming back. He's got shit he's doing, but he was dope. Like fucking ripped off the fucking door straight off the goddamn car. Like, he was fire in that movie. But I like Randy Couture in the movie. He got some really dope kills. But what I was more hyped for was that they said Tony Jaa is going to be.
Well, who would he play again? What's he known for?
He's the Protector. If you ever watched The Protector, that's a really good action movie. He was fucking people up in that shit. And some other movies too that I can't think of off the top of my head. But I wonder why they didn't announce the whole cast because like Jet Li was in number 3. I want to say there was a whole bunch of people in that third one.
Oh, he was. I just looked
wasn't
him up.
Jean-Claude Van Damme in the third one?
Yeah, but they killed him off in the third one, so he can't come back. But Tony Jaa, he's Ung Bak, is what I remember. That was in theaters, Protector. And that was huge.
I think that's what it's. The Protector is like the English title.
Yeah, I remember I was working at AMC and they released it as Ung Bak as like a part of the AMC Artist series or whatever. They were playing a lot of indie films at the time. So that's awesome. That's great that they have some. I saw this meme on Twitter that said action stars of my childhood and it had basically this cast. And then it said action stars of today and it has fucking Tom Holland. It's got Tony fucking it's got fucking the Hulk, what's his fucking name? It's got the Avengers cast and I'm like, Jesus Christ. They're right though. Those are the action movies of today. I don't know, for better or for worse. I guess they make more money than the ones we watched as kids, so who knows. I'll be there to watch Expendables also. I like it. I liked all 3. I watched them in theaters as well. I'm surprised that they're even doing a 4th one. That kind of came out of nowhere. But we'll see. Yeah, I'm in.
This is gonna be dope. Like I fuck with all these shits. Like it just pure action. Like this is what action movies used to be, and now we just get fucking Marvel movies as action movies, which sucks. Like the action movies, like fucking Matrix, Expendables, shit like White House Down, whatever the fuck that shit was called, the Transporter. Like we don't get those fucking movies really that much anymore. Basically, we get fucking Mission Impossible and then Marvel. And
Yeah.
I like my action movies more like Mission Impossible than Marvel. It's just more fun that way.
Yeah, and I'll give some credit to Fast and Furious. I'll count those as action movies because they have guys like The Rock in there doing crazy shit. Jason Statham as well, some crazy fights. Hobbs vs. Shaw. So there's some decent ones, but they're not quite as frequent as when we were growing up. Shit like Commando, that's one of the best ones right there.
Yeah.
And that does wrap up the news as far as this week's episode, but we do have this month's What's New on Netflix. These are the September 2021 highlights. So we've got the first one here is Army of Darkness. And this is I think it's the Evil Dead 3 is what they called Army of Darkness. And they're also adding Evil Dead 1 and 2 on there. So you get the full trilogy all on HBO Max. I remember the first one scared the shit out of me. I watched it as a teenager. Not to the level of Exorcist, but I was still like, oh man, like that girl under the cellar and shit. Like all that stuff scared me. Have you watched any of those?
I watched like 30 minutes of Evil Dead 1. Not really scary, but then again, I was like 20 at that time.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't too bad. But, I've only seen like bits and pieces of those. So I don't really have too much to say about them.
If you ever go back and visit them, they're Sam Raimi movies, and he did some neat stuff with the camera, like the camera close to the ground, chasing type of thing, all kinds of neat camera work that he had to put in there due to the budget and all of that. So it's just neat to watch from a production standpoint. That very first one, at least, before he got the larger budgets on him. Cloverfield, that one, I forgot who was on. They called it one of their favorite kaiju movies. I think it might have been Millennial Mike, but that one is hitting HBO Max. I remember the campaign for it leading up to it. They were putting up these mysterious videos on YouTube. There was that website that came out. People were wondering where the monster came from, and the theaters were packed. I remember going to theaters, and it was kind of a big hit.
Yeah, this movie is a classic. I don't know if it's because of the movie or if it's because of the marketing. Like, fucking genius marketing. Like, people watched this shit and they didn't even know what the fuck it was about. At one point, I'm pretty sure people thought it was like, what's that Outbreak movie I want to say, where they had to like, they fucking I think it was called Quarantine. It might have even been called Quarantine, where they just had people like zipped up and they were hiding and shit. Like, it was so fucking confusing. The marketing was everywhere. Nobody knew it was gonna be a kaiju movie. It just looked like a fucking regular ass, like, crazy Blair Witch type first person movie. And then you get to the movie theater and you watch it all the way to the end. And you're like, holy shit! Like, you didn't even believe that that's what you signed up for when you walked in and you bought the ticket. So it's definitely a classic. I don't know that it's a classic like if it's shot well or if it's written well or if it has like amazing acting, like that type of classic. It's definitely something that if you watched it in theaters and you were alive around that time, like of age around that time, you're gonna remember that. If somebody said, "Oh, Cloverfield," you'll have fond memories versus like, "Oh man, that fucking shit was terrible."
No, I agree with you. You kind of had to be in it in the moment as you followed along with the campaign, and it really did wrap us all up. Another one that many people consider a classic, not myself. I watched it in junior high in class, and I don't know, I didn't see what the big deal was, but The Goonies. People love it. I know it's beloved, but it wasn't for me, but it is hitting HBO Max.
Fucking classic, dude. This I don't know what it is, man. I don't know what it is about The Goonies, but the shit is just dope. Like, I watched it around the same age as you, like when I was like 11, 12. And it's just like, you watch the movie. I think if you watch the movie as a kid, it just makes you want to have your gang of friends just do some crazy ass adventure. Like, that's what it made me feel like. Like, why the fuck am me and my friends, we walk around the neighborhood and do shit. Why the fuck aren't we getting stuck in a cave or in a fucking, we find a crazy ass treasure or some shit like that? Like, all we do is like ride fucking bikes, skateboards, and play some basketball and run games of fucking like Smash and Halo. Like, why aren't we doing this crazy ass shit? But like that, it just has that. It gives you that childlike energy. I don't know if a grown adult like went to the movies and watched this, they would be like, man, this is a good movie. They'd probably be like, man, this shit was stupid. But as a kid, like, I didn't even watch this in the fucking theaters. I saw it on like TNT when I was like 11. and was just enamored. Like it's just a fun fucking movie. Like if I put that shit on, I'm gonna be smiling the entire way through.
Well, maybe I'll go back and watch it. I don't know. Maybe I'll give it another go. Now that I think about that day, it was like a vote, I think, between like the class was voting between the Goonies and something else. And I'm 100% sure I voted for that something else. And maybe I was just unhappy that they didn't go for that. And I'm like, fuck this movie. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I'll rewatch it. The ones that I always rewatch when they hit HBO Max, and I love them all, and I play them at the store. Harry Potter 1 through 7. They were just off HBO Max about 2 months ago, and now they are back. I'm going to watch them all again. I love them. Great acting. Some movies are better than the others. It depends on the directors, but yeah, it's good. It's stuff that I grew up with. Each movie grew up with me as they continued. Each book, same thing. Heavier themes, darker stuff. And it's good stuff. I do enjoy them.
Yeah, you always preach the good word of Harry Potter to me. Anytime you like to talk about the guy that passed away, man.
Alan Rickman.
Alan Rickman. And Seymour Hoffman, right? Wasn't he in the movie?
No, he was in the Hunger Games.
Oh, I'm tripping. I get all that shit mixed up. Like all those type of like novels that turned into movies. I mash them all up because I don't watch any of them. But yeah, you always let me know, like, man, the fucking those later movies, man, the acting, and I'm just not really a Harry Potter guy. I find it more the thing that's I find interesting about this is that HBO can't keep this on their fucking streaming services because it generates so much money when they sell it somewhere else that they have to have it ping pong back and forth between being on HBO and streaming somewhere else or being on live television. Like it's hilarious to me that they can't just keep this locked down, especially with like all the different streaming wars going on, like how The Office got back and locked down on like Peacock or whatever. So it's kind of funny that they can't just keep this here, but it generates money. Like is the new Harry Potter shit on HBO Max? Like whatever the fuck that new series is called, the
Fantastic Beasts?
Yeah.
I don't think so because I haven't looked, but I don't remember ever seeing it on HBO Max. And I haven't been looking for them though. Those new ones suck. they're not good. It's too bad. And I think there's rumors that they're going to do they keep denying it, but a bunch of insiders are like, there's going to be a Harry Potter show that's going to hit HBO Max. They just haven't announced it. So that property is still alive and kicking. They know there's money to be made there. So even if this new prequel, I think it's going to be 5 films total, even if those don't pan out, they'll always have reboots, remakes that they can do of these. There's going to be people like me that'll go that will at least give them a shot. It's kind of like this Fantastic Beasts thing. Even though I really didn't like the second one, the first one I thought was whatever. I'm probably going to finish it. I'm going to watch 3, 4, and 5 because I'm like, all right, well, I want to see how this connects now. They're using some characters from the first 7 movies, so let's see it all together. Kind of like Star Wars, I guess. So those fans will come out for every single one of those, no matter how much they hated the new trilogy.
Yeah, they come out and then complain about how, oh man, this was so much better when I was a kid.
Right. Another one on this list is King Kong from 2005. That's the Peter Jackson one. I remember that there was a big video game, I think it was on the Xbox, right, that they were really promoting, showing off the graphics on it.
Yeah.
That was for King Kong.
Yeah, that was a classic. Terrible game. Decent movie, though. Decent movie. I enjoyed it. Jack Black did a good job.
It was Beauty killed the Beast. He fucked up that line, though, at the end.
But I like the CGI in this one.
Yeah.
For the time, it was really good.
Was that Adrian Brody as well that was in it?
I would have to see what he looks like to honestly answer that. I never remember like B tier actor, like B tier celebrity guys. So like I usually like earlier today I was talking to somebody about how Hulu doesn't really advertise their exclusives, and I was like, yo, they keep telling me when I turn on Hulu, they'll give me an ad for the fucking movie that came out 3 years ago with the dude from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Like that shit's been on, and they were like, oh, Andy Samberg. Like, I don't know that guy's name. I'm like, I just know he's on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I don't know. Like, if you're not like The Rock Like I just don't remember your name
I
for the
gotcha.
most part.
Another one here is Lady in the Water. This was a Shyamalan film, and it was the first one that didn't have a twist ending. And so some people were like, that in itself is a twist.
One. This is like one of three good M Night Shyamalan
Yes.
movies. One
Yeah,
of three.
this is good. Glass is really good. And what was a Shatter? No, what was the one right before Glass? It was the sequel to the one that just came out with James McAvoy. Split.
Split.
Yeah, Split was awesome. I don't know if you saw that one.
Yep. Split. Just those three that you pretty much named, and I like The Happening, but it wasn't a good movie. It was funny as shit though. It was good to laugh at.
I didn't see
It
The
wasn't a good
Happening. Yeah,
movie. That was the one where the trees were killing everyone.
right. With Mark Wahlberg, where all those lines. What? No. I like The Village. That one. I think these both had Bryce Dallas Howard, right? Lady in the Water and The Village.
Yep.
Awesome.
I enjoyed it. Again, I would never watch that shit again. I would watch Lady in the Water.
Yeah, I'm going to revisit this for sure. And also a big franchise. This is one that I'm not a fan of, I got to say, but I don't hate on it either like people do. But it's Transformers. And this is one that I'm always like, look, people shit on Michael Bay all the time, almost to the level of Zack Snyder, where they're like, oh, it's a Michael Bay movie or whatever. And I'm like, those movies make a shit ton of money, though. Like, you can't really shit on the guy. They keep making Transformers movies, and he keeps bringing out the audience. They keep buying them all. It's almost like when people laugh when there's a new Fast and Furious, like, oh, now they're going into space. It's like, well, fuck you. Like, they've always been ridiculous. What are you talking about? And it's the same with Transformers. You know what you're going to get when you go into a Michael Bay Transformer, and that's what they're paying to see.
I never got it. Like, I'm not a huge Transformer guy, but I can't sit here and act like I haven't watched multiple Michael Bay films. I watched the first Transformers. I watched all the Bad Boys, and I enjoyed the fuck out of them. So yeah, I don't get the whole hate on Michael Bay. I mean, the only one I can get like was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like that was terrible. Right? That was the new one. Was that Michael Bay?
Yeah, that was Michael Bay, and they had a problem where they really were going to be aliens, and then when they saw people's reaction to it online, they quickly like went in and did reshoots and like quote unquote fixed it. And they added in that line of the guy like, oh, they're aliens. No, they're not aliens, and all this other shit. Like Eric Sachs was supposed to be the Shredder, and that's his name, Oroku Saki. Like it all lined up perfectly. And then they did this reshoot of like, well, let's just get this Asian guy in shadows where you can't really see his face because we don't really know who we're gonna cast as the Shredder, and he'll be the Shredder in the movie because you don't really see his face when they fight him in that big CGI fest. So. The second one people say is like really good, and I enjoyed it. And I think if they had just let them do, as weird as it was, maybe an alien story, if they had just left it alone and seen what they came up with, it probably would have been a better product.
Movies by committee, Dan.
Right.
That's what we get now. Movies by committee. Everything by committee.
Yeah.
Dan, there. Movies, TV, video games. We can't just let the director or the writer or whoever creates anything anymore have the say in what we see. It's just, hey, this is the thing, and you either like it or you don't. No, it's everybody has to like it.
I got a couple more on this list here. Mad Max Fury Road. This is awesome. It's been on HBO Max as well. I own it on Blu-ray. I go to Target every week with Scott, and I always see on the Blu-ray $5 section, Mad Max Fury Road. I'm like, this is a fucking crime. This should be illegal.
Like, what's my sentence? Because I've never seen this. Do I get like a year in the gulag? Or
well,
should
no.
I just go ahead and
Are you the one
comes on HBO?
Yeah, you should watch it on HBO Max for sure. Or you can find it on Blu-ray for $5. It's well worth that money. They do practical effects on this thing. I'd never seen any of the previous Mad Maxes, and this one is its own thing. It's a standalone movie, tells its own story, beginning to end. It doesn't set up 18 sequels. It's good. It's really good stuff. It stars Tom Hardy. He does an excellent job. It's got... she's the villain in Fast and Furious 8, and she was in 9. She's an amazing actor. She won an Academy Award for Monster. I don't know why I'm blanking on her name right now, but she's the other part too. So you got two lead actors that are incredible in this thing, plus an amazing director on it. you've got to watch Fury Road.
All right, I'm checking it out. I'm checking it out. Sounds like a plan. Whenever it pops up on HBO Max.
Yeah, let me know what you think. Last one here is one that I dropped out of after season 1, but I know people are enjoying it. It's the Doom Patrol season 3. So if any of you are keeping up on it, there are plenty of superhero DC shows on there that are higher quality than the CW, like Titans, Doom Patrol. I don't know if they got a higher budget or if they got better people on it, people that actually know what they're doing. So Doom Patrol season 3, for those of you keeping track, it will be hitting HBO Max this month.
Yeah, I kind of want to catch back up on this. I dropped out on season 1 of this and Titans. Not really because I didn't enjoy them, mostly because I just didn't have DC Universe anymore. And then now that they're on HBO Max, I just haven't gone back to them. But I definitely do want to go back to both just to see what's going on. I haven't heard too much good things about Titans, but I definitely heard a lot of good things about Doom Patrol. But that also could just be like the Brendan Fraser fanboys.
Well, he does have quite a fan base now, and they're not the worst, And my opinion of Fraser, and I know a lot of people are really rooting for him because I know he went through some hard times over the last decade, I think, and now he's kind of like back on track. He's getting roles again. He's getting work. He's getting his income back, and he's getting back in shape, and physically he's getting better. So there's a lot of people rooting for him, and he just signed on to do a project with Darren Aronofsky, like a lead, I think, role. And I'm like, wow. Jesus Christ! Like, I think Film Gob was calling it the Renaissance. Is that what we're gonna get?
That's definitely interesting. I didn't even know Aronofsky was working on anything. Now that you got me on his radar, I definitely need to see what's going on with that.
And I'm glad Aronofsky is doing, because I know he was producing like a show for Apple TV or something, but he wasn't really directing anything heavy. And now that he's getting back into making a couple of movies, it's great. And I think someone else was going to direct them. I don't know why Scorsese shows up on, there was like 2 big directors that were going to have Fraser as their lead. So they see something in him, and his fan base sees something in him, and I'm rooting for him too, just based on the stuff that he went through. But there you go. We've got a lot of stuff coming our way on HBO Max this month. And these are just the highlights based on what I've seen, and a lot of stuff that Macio's seen, thankfully, too, and some really good stuff that is heading our way. And next month we'll do Netflix, and we'll do HBO, or later this month we'll do Netflix and then HBO Max again for the October editions. But otherwise, we're going to go into the Brocat block, which is what Macio and I have been doing this week. So kick it off, Macio. What have you been doing or reading or playing? All of the above, so that the Brocat core can get to know you better.
All right. Well, what I've been playing, Hades. Crazy amount of Hades. Like, this game is fucking incredible. It's made by Supergiant, which I know you love, Transistor.
Yeah, I gotta buy this fucking game.
Yeah, it fucking bangs, man. Like, even if you're like, oh man, I'm not good at roguelikes, they have something called God mode, where it doesn't turn you into an actual god where you can't die. You still can die, but you take like very reduced damage. So it helps you out if you're not as good at the game. I don't like using those kind of things, and I've gotten all the way to the end and lost to the boss on the last phase like 4 times now. But I'm getting closer every single time to beating them. So I'm just keeping it off because I know I'm going to get there soon, but it's fucking fun as shit. Bobby put me on 12 minutes, which is like a Game Pass game, a huge narrative game. And goddamn, I hated that shit. It's fucking terrible. I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's basically like you're replaying this 12 minutes in a loop. Like, this guy's stuck in a time loop, where it's like this crazy story about his wife, and man, like the convoluted shit that you have to do to progress the story while replaying the same thing over and over while you try to figure out what you're supposed to do to go past it. I fucking hated that shit. Like, I couldn't. I got like 1 or 2 endings, and I was just like, I'm done. Like, I'll just watch. I watched a YouTube video and saw what you were supposed to do, and I was like, I was never gonna fucking figure that shit out.
Yeah,
like,
Millennial Mike. He recommended that to me last week, and he said James McAvoy does a voice in it, right?
Yes,
Like all the
yes,
celebrities?
and Daisy Ridley and William Dafoe.
Nice.
And honestly, they could have been anybody. Like if
Okay.
you didn't tell me it was those people, like I would have never known. Because it's not like you don't get close-ups of their face or anything. So you have really no idea. You're just going off the voice, and they're not really voice actors. So hearing them voice act in the game, they didn't give like that crazy kind of performance that you would expect. They did okay. So like they would have been just as well served if they had like fucking Laura Bailey and fucking
Mark Mir.
yeah, Mark Mir, like Nolan North, the normal fucking video game voiceover guys. Just throw them in there and have them do that shit. Like it would have been the same type of performance. Like it wasn't really all that crazy. I hated that shit. So I don't recommend it. But
Yeah.
what else am I playing? Well, I can tell you what I'm watching. I'm watching Harley Quinn on HBO Max and having a good time with that. Fucking hilarious.
Yeah, it's a fun show. I like it. It's the comic book, the tie-in comic is about to come out in about a week or two. And yeah, as far as I know, I've seen all the first 2 seasons, and I think there's a season 3 on its way.
Yeah, I saw it just won some type of an award too, for like best animated cartoon show, something like that on I think it was like the Hollywood Academy Awards, like or some shit. I don't know, some weird like Writers Guild type award, whereas like the actors and actresses, some shit like that. I seen it on Twitter.
What's unique about that show too is that they'll take these characters that we know and love, and they'll do completely crazy shit with them, things that you wouldn't expect, like the Joker actually wanting to settle down, just weird reality things, like adult problems that they put in with these characters. Commissioner Gordon being an active alcoholic. The only one that they couldn't fuck around with too much is Batman, because he's their fucking golden goose. They don't want to damage his, whatever you want to call it. It's IP protection, brand protection. But every other character, they're pretty much, they can do whatever the hell they want with them.
Yeah, that's the only thing I don't like. Like Batman, he kind of plays along with some of it, but he's still just Batman, which kind of sucks because like for the most part in like the comics, or at least the media I've watched with like Damian, he's more serious too, and they have him like basically be a joke in the show. Like he's the little old Robin, like just smack him away like he's nothing.
Right.
So, which I was kind of like, damn, that's kind of disappointing because like he's practically a waste in the show. He's just there as basically like as if he's just a regular ass like 10-year-old. Like, oh, you hit him, you're like a piece of shit or whatever. But I enjoy it. I like how like people just get killed off like it's nothing. And the jokes are funny. I have like a huge range of humor, so they have some of those like more subtle jokes. They have a lot of visual gags, a lot of callback humor. So I have a good time with it. It's pretty fun. Leon from Curb is in it.
Yeah, JB Smooth, right?
Yes, JB Smooth's in it. He plays the plant. He's hilarious.
Yes, he is.
I fuck with the show. I'm mad that I wasn't watching it sooner, but at least I get to kind of binge it out now and get ready for the next season.
Did you get to the intro with the Snyder Cut guy yet?
No, I just finished up the Riddler You episode, so I don't think I got there.
That part was funny, and I'm sure you saw or heard about the whole thing where they made it a part of the intro. They made him into like this typical nerd where he doesn't like women in media or whatever, and he's got to release the Snyder Cut shirt on, and they made him like the worst kind of nerd that you can think of. It was interesting because I remember at the time on Twitter, there was a lot of, I guess, like, okay, what should we do about this? How do we handle it? Or what can we do? And we ended up as a fan base kind of embracing the character because it's like, holy shit, release the Snyder Cut. And at the time it was like, that was a big deal that it showed up on a show. It was referenced in a thing, the release the Snyder Cut thing. And we're like, that just showed up on a TV show on DC Universe that tons of people are going to be watching. That's a huge thing. And then they photoshopped the same design from the character's shirt, and they put it up as an AFSP donation thing to get it reprinted. and all the donations went to AFSP, so they made it into a positive, which then made the producers and the writers of the show like, look, this was all in good intention, and this is great that they're doing something positive. We love those guys, and it was kind of like this, turning it into a positive thing, and everyone changed their avatar to the guy. Yeah, I saw like different race versions of them too, depending on who you are, so you can like grab one of those instead, and it's like, it's the Snyder Cut guy, and I'm excited when you get to that point, because it is kind of funny, but it's also like, he should have been on the, us as a fan, we're like, we're more like the other nerd guy, that his friend, but whatever. It's, we're on a show forever. Like, that is a thing. That's a pretty big deal.
And that's the way that you do criticism. Like, instead of you guys being like, hey, that's not us, we like women, and trying to fight back against it, just play along with it. You play along with it, and then it makes you guys look even better. There's no point to try to fight against it. If you guys would have fought against it, then people would have just been like, see, yeah, they are the nerds that hate women and,
right.
and all that shit. Like, that's them. Well, instead, you guys played with it and got a whole bunch of money raised for a good cause.
Yeah, and they still think that anyway, so it doesn't matter. But You're right. It's the whole point is to do something good out of it.
But what have you been? I would say gaming, but you don't game anymore, man.
Yeah, no, I don't. Like, tonight, Kelly, we were talking about it, and she's like, maybe you can play some Phoenix Wright tonight. And I'm like, oh, maybe, but I'm also getting up at 6 a.m. I'm doing, you might have heard, but I'm doing Planet Fitness now with my siblings and with one of my friends, and I go 3 to 4 times a week, so I have to get up at 6:05 in the morning and then go right before work nice. Sometimes. So I kind of have to balance like how late I stay up these days, and gaming is another thing that it's like, all right, well, but Phoenix Wright, I've been playing a little bit. I did finish Mayor of Easttown on HBO Max with Kate Winslet. I've been working on that one for a while, and it's one of those where they're probably going to get awards for the acting and the writing, the directing. Story itself I had some problems with the ending, but it is worth watching just for Kate Winslet's performance. It's got Guy Pearce in it. He's always good. I watched that Netflix The Witcher animated movie.
Oh, nice. I've been wanting to get into that, like at least the original. Bless you.
The Henry Cavill one?
Yeah, just the original Netflix show, but I haven't gotten to it. But I definitely do want to watch it, and even the animated one too. I've heard nothing but good things.
It was a pretty good tie-in. The animation is done well. I was kind of worried because some of the Netflix anime that they put out, there was like a Zeus one or a Greek one that the animation did not look good. But this studio, whoever worked on it, it does look like a legitimate Japanese anime. I don't know if that's who worked on it, people actually in Japan, but they nailed the look of it. And it is a prequel to the live action show, which is kind of nice. It's not heavy on it. It's not where like you need to watch this before you watch the live action. It's just kind of like an extra thing. And it's another thing that it's the story itself too. I was like, okay, well, yeah, maybe I would have done this thing a little bit differently. And maybe if you watch it, we can talk about it. But it was worth watching. Kelly liked it because there's a love story in there. So that was in there. Oh, the Witcher should have just been happy. And it's like, he's the Witcher. He can never be happy. He can never just settle down. That's not going to happen.
Yeah. Like, I was apprehensive on watching the show because I tried to play the game, or at least I tried to play Witcher 2 back in the day, and that shit was so super janky, and I just never got into it. And now I kind of want to go back and at least play 3 and watch the show, but like, the time, man, there's so much shit going on, so many games to play, so many things to watch. It's like, damn, when am I going to get to it? But I definitely want to get to it.
It's good stuff, and I hope you enjoy it when you get in there. Mad Max, though, make that your priority. I would personally say I recommend that one first, because I think it's one of the best modern movies out there.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to watch that, because that's just a one-time viewing. Like, I don't have to come back and turn it back on every other day to try to finish it up. With like a movie, you just watch it one time, you're good. But like, it's hard to get back to these shows unless they're like actually captivating, to be like, okay, I'm watching 2 episodes tonight, then I got another one. Especially because the Witcher has 3 seasons?
Right now it's only 1 season. They're working on season
really?
2. Yeah.
I thought it was on like 3 seasons by now. That shit's been out for like 2 years.
Yeah, it's been a while since they've released the first season. I think the pandemic slowed down season 2.
Oh, then shit, I need to get on it then, because it's like 1 season, like 8 episodes, something like that.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
And the other thing that happened to me this week is the I don't know if you saw online this past week, but DC Fandom released that terrible looking poster with their lineup of Black Adam and Shazam 2, the Batman.
Oh, no, I gotta look this up, man.
And I thought it was fan made when I saw it. I'm like, that's fan made, guys. Someone posted it on a Facebook group, and nope, for sure enough, the official DC account put it up, and I'm like, Jesus, this fucking looks terrible. They showed up their lineup. Yeah. It is just copy and paste. It's like an Iron Man poster. It's like a Spider-Man poster.
Man, that is bad. What are they doing?
So they posted their whole lineup, and they're like, these are going to be the movies we talk about. And it's all Hamadaverse. No mystery panel, no mystery announcement. Zach is not going to be on there in any presence at all. So this is all going to be stuff that I'm not interested in. Aquaman 2, Shazam 2, Black Adam, the Batman, the CW shit, all of that. And then I'm like, stuff that we're not going to support because we want to see the Snyderverse restored. And without even trying, the movement, there was no planned event, but as soon as they dropped this poster and talked about the panels, as soon as the day started, I think it was 9 a.m., Restore the Snyderverse was the #1 trending thing in the US because of this fandom announcement, where we were all like replying like, we don't want to see this, Restore the Snyderverse. And by the afternoon, it had out-tweeted the fandom by over 20,000 tweets.
That's gonna happen, man. This fandom shit. The only thing that might save it is the games, because they're showing off Gotham Knights, and I think they might be showing off Suicide Squad, the Suicide Squad game. If those shits don't bang, like the Restore the Snyderverse is gonna out-tweet this shit by a mile.
Well, what's funny is we're all like laughing, and Twitter did the thing where #1 trending in the US, they put up a little article or a little blurb on the app, so that's when like it's really getting traction. I put up that meme that is still going on. It went so big that now I'm getting a ton of haters. That's how like it's a huge one, because it reaches more than just the circle of friends and all that. It's like, oh shit. So a lot of some people I should probably block, but I've been like just letting it roll. And instead, when fandom happens, which I think is on October 16th or 18th, we're now like, okay, well, if we can make that happen without an organized event, on the day of fandom, we're going to drown it out with Restore the Snyderverse. So that's going to be fun in next month when it's just like, Warner Brothers, you're losing out on millions of dollars. And this is what I was telling a customer, because he's like, why are you boycotting these movies? I'm like, well, one, they're not for me. They're not made with people like us in mind. Someone that, watched Man of Steel, BVS, the Snyder Cut, and it elevated the genre right on the same level as Christopher Nolan, where they took the superhero genre and they did something more with it. Instead of just your standard stuff, let's make our millions and move on. They tried to do something different. They rattled cages. It's stuff that people still talk about. Man of Steel killing Zod at the end, things that are going to stick with people, that are going to be talked about for years. That's not what they're making anymore. And that's fine, but that just means I'm not the audience. So instead, we're telling them, if you give us these other movies that were making you millions, great, then let's fucking do that thing. But they're not interested in it. And once this Discovery thing happens next year, we'll see what happens. But until then, I don't have any faith that we're gonna get a Justice League 2 while Warner Brothers is under AT&T. But until then, make the voices heard. People whine about it. Like I had people saying that us telling the studio and yelling at them and boycotting these movies is not going to get you Justice League 2. And I'm like, but that's what worked with the Snyder Cut. We're going to keep doing the thing that worked.
Even if it doesn't work, like, okay, so if I don't support these movies, at best, Snyder Cut, we restore the Snyderverse. Mm-hmm. At worst, they stop making shitty movies.
Yeah, that's true.
And the worst is just they stop making DC movies. But that's not going to happen. Even if they pause for like 10 or 15 years, DC movies are going to come back. Batman will always be a thing. Yes. Superman will always be a thing. Like, that's not going anywhere. But I can't agree with you, man. Like, I'm watching that Batman movie when it comes out. Like, the rest of this shit, I don't. Yeah, the rest of the shit, maybe Black Adam. But like Aquaman 2, just as you said, like, people still talk about Man of Steel with Zod getting killed, and nobody talks about fucking Aquaman. Nobody talks about Shazam. I never hear anybody say anything about what happened in Shazam,
Mm-mm.
what happened in Aquaman, what happened in Wonder Woman 84. Like, we still talk about what happened in the Snyderverse. We still talk about BVS, whether it's good press or bad press.
Right.
People talk about it. People talk about Justice League, Zack Snyder, just and the only people that ever bring up the original one is to shit on it. Or for the most part, nobody really even talks about that. But no one's hype about the fucking Flash. No one's hype about these trash ass CW shows. Like, it's still the same people that just leave CW on the TV all times of the day. No one talks about it. I never hear anything about Batwoman, girl, whatever it is.
Yeah, Batwoman.
I don't ever hear anything about fucking Shazam. No one's hype about Shazam 2. Nobody's gonna talk about it until right before it comes out. The one where I was hella confused, man. I forget where the fuck I was at, but I was watching something. And I'm like, is this fucking Superman? Like, it looks like Superman, but then it's not. Like, that shit almost. I thought it was a fucking movie. Like that Superman and Lois shit.
Yeah.
I had to find out what it was later. Like, it actually looked decent, at least with the CGI and shit. But then, like, I was actually paying attention to the show, and I was like, damn, this is kind of trash. Like, the acting is pretty bad. But it looked like legit. It looked like a fucking movie to me from the, like, 20 minutes I saw of it. So I guess that might be okay. I'm not going to find out. But from everything that I've seen on DC fandom, the only shit I give a fuck about, Black Adam, the Batman, and then those two games, Gotham Knight, Suicide Squad. And that's more because of Rocksteady.
Yeah, Rocksteady's awesome. They're great, and they're the ones doing the Suicide Squad game. I don't know. I can't watch any of this. I'm not going to support. I'm not going to watch it, but I'll be there to to hashtag it. And that's the sad thing, that if they had Zach on there and maybe there was promise of something, you know, we'd all be there to blow it up and watch it and promote it like we did last year with that event. But just what they want to do, and you know, we can't control that. So all I can do is vote with my dollar and tweets work. We know that. We found that out.
Yeah.
So that's been a point of frustration, but I'm not I don't think anyone's at the point of giving up, because Zach hasn't said anything. This Discovery merger hasn't happened yet. It's still too early for all of that. In the meantime, this is all just the fallout of putting Joss in and putting Jeff Johns in, and all these films were in production. Like, we're going to make these happen. Hamada wants to see these come out, and they're all, the only ones that I can see maybe being profitable for him would probably be the Batman and probably Black Adam, because it's The Rock. You know, he's a guy that people will come out and see. And that's the only one that probably hurts the most to boycott is Black Adam. Because that's one I like. The Rock, after watching the Fast and Furious movies, he's an awesome, very charismatic actor, and I like watch. I almost want to see the Jungle Cruise. Like, legitimately, I want to see that.
Yeah, but I did want to ask you something when it comes to this whole restore the Snyderverse thing. So let's say, and I was wrong the first time, so I can't really even say like, oh, it doesn't happen or it never happens, because I said it was never going to happen the first time and it fucking happened. But let's say Hamada gets fired and they restructure everything, bring in fresh new people, but they don't restore the Snyderverse, but they give like a director like Zack Snyder, someone that's just a well-respected director like a Zack Snyder or Christopher Nolan, and say, hey, you go buck wild with the DC and do whatever you want, and we'll support you fully. We're not going to put your movie by committee. We'll let you do what you want to do. And he makes a really good movie and it spawns into something. Would you still be on the outside looking in saying, Zach never got his movies, I'm done, like, I don't care what you guys got going on?
Well, that's the thing that some people get a little confused with, and I didn't mention if in your scenario, if all of these people, all the heads roll and they're gone, these are the people that enabled the sexist and racist behavior towards Ray, Gal Gadot, and all these other cast members and crew. If all of those people that were in charge of that and enabled that behavior are gone, then great. You know, I'm okay with being on board. If the movie looks good and whatever, then I'm happy to to support it. Like, for example, if all of this right now was coming out and it was fresh blood or whatever, I'd go see Black Adam. But that's not the case. You know, as Ray Fisher said, accountability is greater than entertainment. So at the end of the day, you know, some of these people are like, you know, yeah, fuck racism and suck at Warner Brothers. Oh shit, the new Batman looks great, and they're gonna go see it. So it's like, they immediately changed their minds on this thing, and it's like, okay, so you know, those same people are still in charge. Why are we giving them our money? So it just baffles us when that should happen. So in your scenario, if those people are gone, great, you know, awesome. You have at it. Maybe I'll be there to watch it. I would have to see how it plays out, obviously, just like any other movie. But if otherwise, that's the main thing. You know, I can't support it based on, one, it's not the stuff that we signed up for. Two, these terrible people are still in charge. If Ray Fisher won't go see The Flash and it has his co-star, a guy he likes, Ezra Miller, then why should any, you know, people in the movement see it too, you know? And he's not telling us to not go see it. He's just saying, I can't support it. I can't support anything Hamadaverse because he hasn't apologized publicly to me or anyone. They haven't gotten rid of some of these people. So it's like, all right, the boycott is on.
Yeah, I understand, man. I was just wondering because I'm like, is it only restore the Snyderverse or is it what Ray Fisher, the accountability greater entertainment? Like if all those people get cleared out, like let's say when the merger happens and they just get fucking fired all the way down because they're fucking inept at their jobs, as you can see. Like they can't even get their movies to trend over restore the Snyderverse. So that in and of itself is a fail. Like restore the Snyderverse should never be trending more than the Batman. Like
right.
That shouldn't be a thing. Like there should be more fans just off the strength of, as they say, like the Snyder Cut movement is supposed to be a loud minority. So if that's the case, then the Batman should always fucking trend higher than restore the Snyderverse, and that's never the case. They can never get their own shit hot. So it's like if those people just get axed, all right, like can we see what's going on? Can Ray Fisher get a fucking job, like doing anything DC or even Warner Brothers? Like, can he get a fucking gig, any type of acting? Like at this point, from what I can tell, if fucking Zach doesn't throw him on like Army of the Dead 2, like, is he gonna be able to get on any type of entertainment role? Which sucks. It fucking sucks, man. That being outspoken about some real shit that happened. Like this shit legit happened. There's no doubt about everything that he said happened. There's corroborating evidence. Like people won't come out. Like Gal Gadot will basically kind of just nudge, wink, wink. Hey, yeah, this kind of happened, but I'm not going to say it. Maybe my PR might say it. Maybe I'll agree with Ray and say accountability is greater than entertainment, but I'm not going to be like straight up, yo. Besides what Josh, good old Whedon did, I'm not going to be like, yo, the rest of these motherfuckers up here, they need to get the fuck out of here too. Because, you know, she's still got movie deals coming in.
That's the thing, yeah. And someone like Jason Momoa, he's working on Aquaman 2, so he's not, and he's been a huge supporter as well. But you know, they only go so far because of that. They have movies coming out, and Ray's like, I don't give a shit if I never work again. You know, that's why he came up with that thing of accountability. That's the important thing. But that's been the big thing this week, and yeah, that's basically it for on my end. You know, grinding at work, these fucking book delays that are about to hit, I'm not excited for. Millennial Mike and I talked about that last week, but anything else you wanted to touch on before we closed out this week?
Psychonauts 2. If you haven't played it yet, or if you're looking at trying to get into it, I'm going to start it up probably later on this week. Incredible game. It's on Game Pass. It's on PlayStation. One of the last few Double Fine games you're probably going to see on PlayStation since Microsoft purchased them. And it looks like it's a good old fun time. Other than that, no, I don't have much else going on these days. Just like you, work grind, working out grind, and game grind.
There you go. We can't complain about that. That's for sure. We're working. Not. That's huge. Yeah. That's big. Awesome, man. Well, good on Microsoft for buying up that. I like Microsoft, always have. And uh, let the Brocat Core know, though, if they want to talk about Psychonauts 2 or continue the conversation, where can they find you?
Find me on Twitter that I finally got my access to at Mac the Murderer. Come chop it up. Football season, a couple more weeks. My Jets are looking super fucking trash still, and I'm gonna stick with that. So I know we got a brand new coach, brand new quarterback, and all that shit. But I'm gonna go with the word trash, so that if we are good, I can be happy as fuck, and then if we are trash, I can say, hey, I always thought we were trash anyway. Always has been.
Well, you still got your Yankees. They played a great game in the Dream of Fields one. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah,
And
it
they're
was
doing
all
good this
fun
year.
and games. They're doing decent. Decent. I don't think we're going anywhere in the playoffs, but they're okay. At least I can watch them win a few games. I don't know if I can say the same about my Jets. We'll see what we do in week one, and then I can come back and like a month or two on the show, and I can either boast or I can hear Bobby throw a punch or two when he's on the show.
Yep, he will. Well, awesome. There will be links to Macio's Twitter on the description of today's episode, as always. And he also hangs out in our Discord, so that's always on the description of every episode. And I will also ask if you know anyone that enjoys DC news or gaming, basically anything that we cover week to week or even on today's episode. Let them know. Word of mouth is huge for podcast growth. It's actually the most effective way to get people to listen to a podcast. I know that's been a lot of ways that I've discovered shows, and it's very rarely from browsing Pocket Casts or anything like that. It just doesn't work out that way. It usually is a recommendation and then followed by social media like, oh shit, the Angry Video Game Nerd has a podcast. You know, that's one I recently signed up for. But unless you're not a big name, word of mouth is huge. So that'd be a huge favor. Would appreciate that. Otherwise, you can also find us on thereasonsimbroke.com. You will find a link to all of our social media links on there. Macio, huge thanks once again for co-hosting this week and for being a regular co-host on the show.
Man, you know, it's nothing, man. I love coming on here talking shit and catching up with you, and soon enough we'll be at another UFC event.
Yeah, in about 4 weeks on the 25th, I think.
Yeah.
It's going to be good. So huge thanks once again for joining us. I've been Daniel, and Brocat Core, all will be well. I want to get your take on this criticism I got. So I put up a meme of there's an article that came out that the higher the Rotten Tomato score for DC movies, the lower the box office goes. And that's just been the way it's been going for the last couple of years. And it went up, and it was all over Twitter and all that, which I was like, oh, this is great. You know, I was really grateful for all the shares. But one of the haters was like, it's not the critics' reception that we need to worry about. It's the audience reception, because even a movie like The Iron Giant that had a low box office has this amazing following. So that's what matters. And I'm like, really? Then where's the Iron Giant 2? When's the Iron Giant 3? Where's that franchise?
What the fuck are they talking about?
They're trying to say that if a movie is critically loved, or if audience love it, it's going to have legs in the future. And I'm like, that's like so situational though. That so rarely happens in the box office. It's make or break. It's very rare that they'll come back and be like, all right, well, let's give this movie a sequel from 20 years ago. That just doesn't fucking happen.
It pretty much never happens. And on top of that, it's like, okay, so a whole bunch of people like this movie, and they will go and buy the movie again. Like that's about you. You're only gonna really ever monetize that same amount. Like that's like one of those things I've seen online where this one guy was talking about how he let like YouTubers and shit like relive or heighten certain things. Like this one guy was talking about how he was like, yeah, you know, people always bring up Banjo-Kazooie like it was this amazing, great game that everyone played, and that shit only sold like 800,000 copies. Like, who the fuck was actually playing the game? Did people really actually love Banjo Kazooie when it came out, or is it just a cult fan base that always brings it up when people talk about N64 games? Like, oh yeah, Banjo Kazooie is an amazing game. It's like, was it GoldenEye? Like GoldenEye sold a shit ton of copies. Mario 64 sold a shit ton of copies, but people always bring up Banjo Kazooie. But well, people buy it, and that's what matters. Like at the end of the day, if you want the thing to continue to grow, people have to buy shit so that people create shit. Unless you want just fan fiction, like if they want to read a whole bunch of fucking Iron Giant fan fiction and buy like an Iron Giant T-shirt, I mean that's great. But yeah, box office matters, man. Like at the end of the day, like box office fucking matters. That's pretty much all that matters. Either that or if it sells like a shit ton of fucking DVDs and Blu-rays, which nowadays doesn't fucking happen.
Yeah, now I want to read Iron Giant fan fiction, and I've got to do it. And I know there's going to be dirty ones. Jake Paul's probably going to be in one of them. It's always teenagers that put their favorite YouTubers into the story, no matter what the fuck it is. It's gonna be Jake Paul. Logan Paul's gonna box the Iron Giant.
Holy shit, man! Like that. Imagine reading a 2021 Iron Giant fan fiction about like the biggest dick on a fucking robot. That's what you're gonna be reading, because that's all that fan fiction is
every
nowadays.
Fucking time.
It just always devolves into it would be an Iron Giant like who's Iron Giant shipping? What the fuck, man? Like that's not even what the fucking movie is about. Everything has to be a relationship. It can't just can people not write like a fan fiction that's just like a regular story?
No, of course not. And they're always in it themselves. It's always them. Like,
yeah.
They're the Hogarth.
Self-insert.